Good morning, everyone. We're just waiting for a couple other folks to connect their audio, and then we'll get started in just 1 minute.
Morning, Gino. How you doing?
Good.
Okay. Well, good morning. Happy Wednesday morning, everyone. Welcome to our coffee hour. We are very lucky and have some lovely staff from NRCS here to go over local work groups with us this morning. So I'm not going to waste any time and turn it over to Amber right away to lead us through the process. She did say she's going to share the documents with us, and we'll send those out as soon as possible. So good morning, all, and go ahead, Amber.
All right. Thank you, Nikki, and good morning, everyone. I hope everyone's great across the great state of Colorado. My name is Amber Frioff, and I am the CSP Programs Manager located in Lamar, Colorado. I'm one of the newer faces to the programs team. I'll be hitting my year mark in July. And I also have Liz With on, which is our acting state con for programs, or assisting state con for programs, sorry. And so she'll be in the background with any announcements or anything I might miss, just to chime in. So I'm going to try to share my screen. I'm going to go ahead and stop my video. That way we're not wasting too much bandwidth. And all right, let me know if you guys can see a PowerPoint presentation.
Looks good.
All right. So just again, welcome everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the local working group meeting. A couple of years ago when Clint went down to Texas as acting state con down there, he saw what Texas had done and creating a packet. And so he had asked the programs team to revamp the program. And I was always very active as a soil con with the Northeast Prowers Conservation District as well as the Prowers Conservation District. So I volunteered myself to help with the revamping process. And I don't know if you guys. So first off, I just want to take the time and pause and thank you all for all the incredible work that you guys do. You're amazing partners. And without the conservation districts, we wouldn't be able to do all the great and wonderful things that we do for our ag producers across the state of Colorado. So just thank you for all that you guys do. And when I was looking at developing this PowerPoint slide, I found a really cool, what I thought, quote from Hugh Hammond Bennett, which is the father of conservation as we know him, or the start of the NRCS. And he stated, "I consider the soil conservation districts movement one of the most important developments in the whole history of agriculture." And I couldn't agree any less. That is an amazing quote, and it just goes to show that the power of the conservation district and the power of locally led conservation. So the purpose of these local working groups, if you haven't ever conducted one before, they are held on an annual basis. Granted, the last couple of years have kind of been a mixed shift of what those have looked like. But the reason for these local work group meetings is to collect feedback from our conservation partners and producers to develop local priorities, information, and concerns for the NRCS financial and technical assistance administration and implementation. In other words, we're gathering our information from you and the producers to help us better facilitate our NRCS programs for the upcoming year. And so some things that we've changed over the last few years is adjusting our priority resource concerns. What are the resource concerns that the producers are saying are most important to them across the state? We've also changed our allocation distributions or created new fund pools, such as the local resource team fund pool. that our local resource team lead within our NRCS field offices can work and see where these local working group priorities are, whether it falls in the range or the cropland, and which way to maybe allocate those allocation distributions, feedback from these meetings. As far as technical stuff goes, we've also find out new information or new technology that our producers are using across the state and use that to maybe take that up to our national headquarters so that we can be able to implement that new technology within a new practice or a practice scenario. We also love collecting those local success stories and highlighting those across the state. And then lastly, it's also a great training platform to figure out what our training needs are for not only our NRCS staff, but our producers and partners as well. And this is just a short list of all the things that we've done, but just to kind of give you an idea of what has happened over the last couple of years with these meetings. So just some general guidance for these meetings. It is the responsibility of the Conservation District to advertise and host these meetings. And we strongly encourage you to invite not only your producers in the area, but maybe any conservation partners, such as the Colorado Parks and Wildlife or State Land Board, maybe BLM, some of those different conservation partners, and also maybe some water management entities, Colorado Cattlemen's Association, other land grants, conservation partners that might be out in your area. And these meetings are to be held, we're requesting by July 15th. That way I can go ahead and get all the results compiled and we can make recommendations to Clint Evans to consider for implementing in the next fiscal year. And these meetings can be done in any format. Randy Randall has just announced that we did get a waiver to allow in-person meetings for these. So don't have any reservations about having these in person due to COVID concerns. But if NRCS is attending, they are required to follow the CDC guidelines. So they may be wearing a mask or social distancing a little bit, but it's an awesome opportunity to be able to have these back in person. If that's not going to work for your district, you can also consider a virtual meeting such as a Zoom like we're on today, or even just a teleconference. And then a bit of homework for you guys. We're asking you to complete and return the local work group task worksheet to myself by July 31st. That way we can compile those results. And we'll talk about that worksheet a little bit more detail coming up. So just a few things to consider prior to holding your meeting is kind of taking a look at the age of your producers in your area. And each generation has a different preference within their communication style. So to start out with our age 58 to 75, our baby boomers, they're looking at the generation before, and the generation before is very community-centered, lots of interaction between face-to-face. And so those baby boomers got that installed in them as well. And so their preferred communication is that face-to-face or telephone over maybe an email or a text. Going down to our next generation X, age 40 to 57, we see a shift within this generation going from the core of the family to branching out, and maybe both parents are now working parents and focusing in on their career. And so they're busy doing that, as well as, you know, maybe raising children of their own or taking care of now their aging parents as well. And so we like to think of this generation as like our super busy generation. You know, they would rather have a quick email or cell phone conversation to get down to the point, here's the information I need, and continue on with my day rather than slow down with that face-to-face communication. So then seeing that from our parents, the millennials, are age 25 to 39, also have that same, we're just super busy, we need to get from place to A to B, in a quick hurry. And so we also like the preferred communication of email and text over that face-to-face or telephone. And then what I find really interesting is our Generation Z, so the newest producers that we're starting to work with, or those newest employees starting to enter the workforce, so age 24 and younger. They are seeing a big influence of community involvement and world involvement. And so we've seen that shift now where they're going to prefer more of that face-to-face interaction with you guys more than email or other written communication. So going into our new support packet that we've created, if you've seen, I know this slide is super blurry in the presentations. My apologies for that. We will get this out to you guys so that it is easier to read. But if you've been in local working groups before, or even if you haven't, what we look for NRCS is identifying those resource concerns. And we break down our resource concerns, whether they're associated with soil, water, air, plant, animal, or energy. And then we take that and we break them down into further subcategories. And this is just kind of a spreadsheet to show you how those larger groups are split into those smaller groups then. And so as you're going through the working group meeting, that's one of the things we're going to ask you to identify is what are those concerns of the producers in your area? You know, is it soil erosion due to wind? Is it maybe livestock production related to range improvements? And so also included is this detailed summary of each resource concern, explaining what that resource concern is. And so it takes that big umbrella and takes it down into the smaller components to explain what each one is. Why is that resource concern important? How you can improve upon that resource concern, and then just a quick glance of what can cause that problem and how to fix that problem. Also included is a 2017 census of agricultural county profile. We do have one for the entire state to kind of see how the state is, and then each one of your individual counties. And this is a great summary breakdown of the types of operations, ag products produced, and the demographics of your producers. So it's going to give you, you know, like we can see here in Prioris County, the share type of cells, you know, is mostly crops and livestock. It's going to give you an idea of whether or not we have how much cropland we have within the county versus, you know, maybe rangeland, or what it's classified here as pasture land. It's also going to show you some irrigated acres. So if you have any irrigation concerns within that county. What I thought was pretty cool is the land percent tillage operations. So that could maybe spur some ideas of some locally led, you know, efforts for like a cover crop initiative, or to go to a reduced till initiatives. What's not shown is the demographics. So it does give you the age breakdown of your county, so that you can kind of consider which one of those previous platforms, like we talked about earlier with the generational differences in communication, might be best to hold your working group meeting. And then it also gives you a percent of operators with internet access, which can play into, you know, which if a Zoom meeting might be good, or if there's not very many people with internet access, and also an optional survey, which we've created for you guys to use as well. So a few other resources that are really great to look at and maybe have available as an option at your meeting is pulling the current U.S. drought monitor map. As you can see, this one is a little bit later. It's back in February, but these are updated on a weekly basis on Thursdays. And so you can go and see what the drought concerns are within your county. Again, spurring some conversations about, you know, what kind of conservation practices we may need to look at for, you know, blowing dirt or anything like that. And I have hyperlinked it there in the blue down below. Another really cool resource that NRCS has is our SNOTEL offices. And this is the interactive snow survey map. Again, hyperlinked. And so if you were to click on any one of these blue dots, it's the different survey sites that we have across the state, and it's going to give you real-time data of what the temperature is, what the current snowfall might look like. So kind of giving you pictures of what snowpack may look like and what runoff may look like. The last thing in our packet that we've provided is an optional survey, and this is a Google-based survey. So if any of the conservation districts out there have a Gmail account, super cool. I can send this out to you. Then you can email it to your producers and they can fill it out. It does correspond with the task worksheet so that it's an easy way for you to gather all the information to help fill out that worksheet. Since it is Google based, it will auto populate those results for you within Google. If you don't have that Google Gmail account, that's okay. I can also send it to you and you can print it out and have it there for producers to fill out at the conclusion of your meeting. Again, just for a way to compile those comments for the task worksheet. So also revamped the task worksheet, hopefully make it a little bit more user friendly. This will need to be completed after the meeting is held. It's several questions that we're looking for to help engage conversations as well as to help us figure out what fiscal year 23 programs may look like. And so it is the summary of the input from the meeting. And we do want those emailed back to me so that I can compile those results for consideration. So that's all I had as far as a presentation. On behalf of the Colorado leadership, I would like to thank you all for your support in this endeavor. The things that we've seen out of these local working groups has made our programs even stronger within the state to help facilitate the needs of our producers across the state, and couldn't do it without your wonderful support. So with that, just open it up to any questions you guys might have.
Hey there, and while we're waiting for questions to come in, this is Liz with NRCS, the Assistant State Com for Programs. Hey, I wanted to really reiterate what Amber's saying, and the whole purpose for reworking this local working group meeting is to get quality feedback from you guys. We really can't understate the importance of what you guys see as important conservation projects across the state, or concerns that are being raised at your level that your producers are having to go with and deal with. We can't tailor our state programs until you guys provide us the feedback necessary to make sure that they're successful in targeting what you're actually trying to do. So I know in the past we've received questions concerning, do we really have to host these on an annual basis? Where does this information even go? And I will make the promise that Amber and I and the whole programs team will make a more concerted, thorough effort to make sure that we're giving you the feedback that here's the information that you provided us, and here's where we changed how we're implementing things in 2023. Okay, your information, and we haven't been great about closing that feedback loop, and that's become clearly apparent, has helped us tailor programs so much over the years. I really can't understate how important it is to get solid feedback from you guys, from your partners, from your producers on what NRCS can do better, or channel funding to, or prioritize as a resource concern that needs to be addressed. So thank you for your time and effort. I know setting up these meetings is not easy, And especially when we go through a remake process like this, when there's a couple of tweaks and changes, but it is so valuable. And I know Amber has said it time and time again on this meeting that she is more than willing to help. If you've got questions, please feel free to reach out to her. That's what we're here for, is to help guide you in this process as well. Your local resource team lead district conservationist is also going to be huge. Please feel free to lean on them. They will help you through the process. They will help you generate the reports. And one last thing that I did want to put out there is that if you do choose to have those community surveys, please make sure that you are aggregating those responses as appropriate for your conservation district and sending them up through you. We don't have the ability to see who's responding and kind of pair those responses with, you know, kind of the rest of the community aspects of it. So we don't want individual surveys coming into NRCS. We're looking for you guys to kind of take that information and aggregate it as it makes sense for you and for your conservation district. So it's good supporting documentation for you guys to keep, but make sure that when you're filling out those task guides that you're sending Amber just that one filled out, completed task guide is what we're hoping for. So with that, I'll open it back up to questions. And
Okay, so we do have a couple of questions and comments in the chat. Our first one from Casey: is there a target number of people to try to get to the meeting? And we've seen anywhere from 5 participants all the way up to maybe 50 participants. So, I mean, of course, the more people you could get to a meeting to get more of those comments in, gives you a broader idea of what your district's looking at. But of course, it's, you know, timings is sometimes interesting with producers, whether it's a calving season or planting season. So we totally get that you know, you can still have a successful meeting with just 5 people there. And so Cindy did put in a comment to that it might be great to offer the meeting as an ice cream social, or it could even be part of your annual meeting to attract greater participation. Garth has asked, what is the time frame to conducting these meetings? So we're asking them, you can hold them anytime from now until that July 15th deadline. And who can, he also asked, who can participate? Do they need to be verified landowners in the district? And so it's, you know, it's awesome to have our landowners, but we're also looking at, you know, NRCS is transitioning into reaching out and helping our urban ag producers as well, or beginning farmers and ranchers, and just reaching out to those participants that might not know who we are or even who the conservation district is. And so, you know, whether they have 1 acre or 1,000 acres, include all those producers. They don't actually have to own land either. If they have concerns for conservation and, you know, such as the other conservation partners within your area, be sure to invite them as well.
Amber, this is
Yes.
Cindy Lair, and I just really wanted to thank you for giving such a nice presentation. It was really nice, really well put together, and appreciate the communication styles of different age groups and all of that. I'm thinking about our role as the State Conservation Board staff, and historically, our team has always made ourselves available to help facilitate these meetings. And we wanted to make sure everybody knows that we really are committed to continuing that. If that is desirable, we don't force our way in. In my history with working with the districts and the local work groups, it's usually favorable when NRCS can be there and participate, but as a listening role, and also to be able to provide updates and kind of a report of, hey, this is what we've we had from the last local work group, here are the types of projects that we supported through EQIP and our other programs. Here's the amount of acres, here's the amount of money, or however it looks from that local NRCS leader role. And then is that still how you guys are promoting that within the state office for NRCS to collaborate with the districts in delivering the local work group, or are you promoting the local office team within NRCS to actually facilitate it? It'd be kind of nice to have that clarification.
Yeah, no. Totally understand. So yes, it is a great partnership. So it's the responsibility spelled out per policy for the conservation district to advertise those. If the conservation district doesn't do that, then it falls back on NRCS to ensure that those meetings are being held. So it is a good partnership between our resource team leads and our conservation district managers and board members. We have strongly encouraged our resource team leads to be a part of these meetings. I've had a few resource team leads reach out prior to our bulletin and our support material going out, and they were going to help their districts. And like Liz said, I am more than willing to help in any capacity I can. I'm located in the southeast corner of the state, so if some of those districts from around there would like me to come and help facilitate with the local resource team lead, I can sure do that.
Thank you, Amber. And the other thing I was going to mention is to the districts that sometimes I hear, gosh, we got to do this for NRCS. And anytime I've ever facilitated a local work group session, I'm always amazed at how, yes, there's good information that comes for NRCS, but there's also excellent information that comes for the districts, because even though we are partners and we collaborate and we do a lot together, sometimes there are clearly things that come forward that aren't able to be addressed by NRCS. And the best example I could think of is like noxious weed control. NRCS, you have guidance on that as part of working through EQIP contracts in certain scenarios, but for the most part, noxious weed management isn't something that is going to be prioritized in the programs that you deliver, whereas the conservation districts would be able to partner with the counties to help with operating spray programs, maybe roadside spraying, or offering grants to landowners to help them manage their own noxious weeds and things like that. I think that it really can help the conservation districts to be able to set up their goals for their long-range plans, because they have 3-year plans, and this information could really help populate their activities over the coming 3 years. If they're renewing their 3-year plan, or if they're just working on their annual plan, it may call for an adjustment for them if they're hearing new things on priorities from landowners that the district could help them on. So I just wanted to clarify that really this isn't just for NRCS. It is for the whole partnership, and it is always good to try to figure out what the landowners want from all of us in delivering conservation.
Sure. So yeah, and like Liz stated, I know that there's been a little bit of a gap in closing that final loop to demonstrate, you guys provided this and this is the action we took. And so that is something that Liz and I are super concentrated on. And so when we take those recommendations from the programs team up to Clint for consideration, and he makes those final determinations, we're going to be for sure to reach out to you and Nikki and the staff, and maybe have another Zoom meeting such as we are here in coffee hour, and just let you know what changes you guys did help recommend with these local work group meetings. And like you said, it's just great feedback to get a feel of what the producers and maybe other conservation partners are looking at. Is there any, it helps gear ideas of, is there any specialized projects that we can all come together and partner with to help with those producers as well. So thank you for that additional comment. We do have another comment in the chat from Penny that states we are starting to hold these meetings in coordination with the annual meeting to get more consistent participation. We usually hold our meetings in March, and in the past did not get the NRCS task guide sheet until early March. Can you get these out to the conservation districts by February? So yes, Penny, I realize that there was a little bit of a delay in getting those out since we totally revamped the program this year. And so that would part of that task worksheet. One of the last questions you'll find is, what else can we provide to help the conservation districts and the local resource team leads facilitate these meetings? And so once we get all those compiled, we might see a few changes, but if not, yeah, we can definitely work on trying to get that out in earlier March, February timeframes.
Good morning, Amber. My name is Tristan. I'm with the White River and Douglas Creek Conservation Districts. And I had a question kind of along with Penny's. We have always struggled getting participation and good support from our boards and trying to have these local working group meetings in the time frame that, from when we get the worksheets to when they're due. It's just such a tough time for our districts over here, and maybe somebody else, some of the other districts don't have the same issues, but most of our landowners seem to be very busy calving and everything that time of the year. So is there any flexibility, or maybe you have another type of suggestion in maybe getting those, and as you just mentioned, you might be able to get those task guides out a little bit early, maybe in February, but is there even opportunity to push that even earlier in the year, or maybe being able to, like, for the districts to submit those that feedback later in the year? Like the winter time, everybody gets hit hard with meetings, but it is a good time for our landowners. And I just wondered what kind of opportunities or flexibility there might be to kind of work around the timing of that.
For sure. So yeah, no, I totally get it. I was born and raised on a farm and ranch in Southeast Colorado, so I know we're calving, we've got hay, we've got irrigation water, and like you said, it's never really a great time for producers across the state. You've got different times across the state that affect different producers. So the reason why we have it set for the July timeframe is our fiscal year for NRCS runs from October 1st through September 31st. And so the idea of the July timeframe would, give us a couple of weeks to compile all the results from the conservation district, get those up to Clint for consideration so that we can make possible changes for that fiscal year 23, which will start in October. And so Liz, you can back me up on this, but I would say, if you wanted to have, maybe one of those winter meetings, if that works better, you could sure do that. You would just have to know that it would be for the next fiscal year, starting that next October, before you might see some of those recommendations come to light.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's kind of something we've discussed with the NRCS folks here in this office, is maybe using the prior year's information to submit. So we'd use like 2021's information to submit for 2022, but I know that sometimes the questions are different. And so we were just looking at some different options. And like this year for us, it would work really good to have the local working group meeting in conjunction with our long range planning meeting, kind of like Cindy mentioned earlier. So we will just work around that and do, I think that it is really beneficial, obviously to you guys, but to us as well, to get that feedback from our landowners. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Okay, have a comment with Nevaeh that she missed part of the meeting and is sending out the survey and worksheets enough to gather the necessary information without holding an actual work group meeting. And so we would still request that you hold those work group meetings, because even though the worksheet or the optional survey is going to gear some of those conversations, you might not get that in detailed, or you might only have a couple producers, but if you have a meeting, then those producers can feed off of each other and spur other ideas as well. So we would still strongly encourage you to hold those meetings in any format that you guys select to do. And then just, if you want to use that survey, you sure can. It's not a requirement. It was just kind of a way to help maybe gather some of that information we're looking for as well out of those meetings. And it looks like there are several conservation districts that are holding their local working group meeting with their annual meetings in that October, November, January timeframe. So definitely looks like I need to circle around back with Liz and Clint and figure out if we can get that information out sooner to you guys than later. So thank you for those comments as well, so that we know when to get that information out.
And I think I can provide pretty safely that if you guys say that that's when you need to collect the information, we will work on getting things out for that fiscal year in that time frame.
Great. Are there any other questions out there? Thank you, Amber and Liz, for coming and reviewing all of this information. I will send out the slides and forms and surveys that Amber sends after this meeting. And of course, we will post this recording on the website. So if you want to go back and double check something or share with a neighboring district manager who may have missed it, please do so.
Thank you, and always feel free to contact us or your local resource team lead as well. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.